All right, now we are going to bring in an architectural element and adjust its color and play with masks to make it blend into the face. So I'm going to go to File, File, Open, and go to my demo files. I'm going to bring in this loosely cut out architectural element from a building. I'm dragging it over onto my face. I'm going to use the transform tools to get it in place. I could also lower the opacity a little bit to see the face underneath. I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, and Rotate. I could also use the keyboard shortcut of Command T, which would give me this same box around it. And I'm going to line this up on the face about like this. Click Enter. Command T would give me that box that I could then scale and rotate as I wanted, right? I'm going to line this up kind of right under the eye. And click OK. Open up my opacity, or put my opacity back to 100%. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit with my command shortcut, Command plus. Now, what I want to do is adjust the color of this element so that it can more easily blend into the skin tone of our face. So I'm going to do a couple of adjustments here. The first thing I'm going to do is select the layer and adjust the levels. I'll go to Image Adjustments, Levels. And I just want to brighten the contrast a little bit. So I'm going to slide the right slider. And I might do the left a little bit too, just to heighten the contrast of this element. I didn't adjust too much. Click OK. And then I'm going to remove the color. So I'm going to go to Image Adjustments again and desaturate. You know, this is kind of a black and white piece of architecture anyway, but some of my other elements are darker or have a little bit of a tone, a warmer, cool tone. I'm going to desaturate just to remove any of the hue so that we're just looking at grayscale. With some of the other elements that you bring in, you might want to adjust the levels a little more to lighten it or brighten it up because some of those are dark. So once I've desaturated and I've adjusted the levels of that layer, now I'm going to add an adjustment layer to colorize it. And it's the same trick that we used with our eye color. So I'm going to hold the Command key and click on that layer thumbnail in the layer palette. And that will make a selection of that layer, of that object. And with that selection, I'll go to the quick adjustment, create new adjustment layer icon at the bottom of my layers panel. And I'm going to add a hue and saturation adjustment layer. So again, that creates an adjustment layer for hue and saturation, but it makes a mask that automatically selects the element or the object that we want to adjust so it doesn't affect the rest of our image. And then what I'm going to do with that is in my hue adjustment properties, click the colorize box that's right there under the lightness scale. And then I'm going to use my perception to try to match the color. We did this another way in class also, where we filled and grabbed the color on the top layer and then used a blending mode. You can do it that way too. I wanted to show you this way as well. So this way I'm going to try to match the hue of the skin tone on our figure here. And I'm going to play with saturation. I'm going to desaturate it. And lightness and darkness. And what I'm looking for is trying to match sort of the lighter tones in this architectural detail with the lighter tones on the face, and the darker tones kind of matching the darker tones of the face. So it's somewhat similar color space. And mine's looking a little yellow, so now I'm gonna move it warmer orange toward the orange a bit, and I might add a little saturation so it's not so light. And that's pretty close. So I'll accept those. Okay, so we have this architectural element that's just sitting on the face right now. We could go ahead and build on other elements if we wanted and sort of create a mask that sits on the face. But I'm wanting to create this effect that's a little more surreal, and that these elements are sort of embodied or in the skin or connected. So I'm going to apply a mask to this in order to get that effect. But the first thing I need to do is I can't apply a mask on just one of those layers. I need to bring them together before I apply a mask. So I could do a couple of things. I could merge those layers together and just, there's one layer that then I can add a mask. I'm gonna group the layers. So I'm gonna select both, holding Command or Control to select two layers, and then go to my little sandwich and choose New Group from Layers. This is what we did with the eye as well. And I'll call this Cheek Detail, just to give it a name. And now that I have them grouped, now I can add a quick mask from my Layers panel. And what I want to do for this mask, I could use the gradients that we've been trying, right? But I'm gonna work with the brush because I want to toggle between the full opacity brush, where when I brush onto this thing, it's going to take away some of the image. And then also a lower opacity brush, where it will help to blend in. If I zoom in, you might be able to see this a little bit, versus just wiping it out. And you can try even lower opacity, where it's creating kind of again a gradual change versus a dramatic change. So my high opacity, full opacity, will just take it all the way away. And my lower opacity will help to blend it in to the layer underneath. And again, with masks, if you go too far, you're like, oh wait, that I didn't want to cut all that out, right? You can go back to your white by flipping the arrow in the colors and bring it back. So what I want you to do is work this mask to get it to a place where you feel satisfied with the image looking as though it is coming off of the face. And so I'll do a few things, and then I'll fast forward and show you my result. I'm also using the soft brush. You might want to choose to use the hard brush for some elements that you want to really emphasize the hard edges of them. I'm using the soft because I kind of like when the values of that layer blend in and almost, they borrow the shadow of the architectural element. Okay, and I'll lower the opacity, do just a couple more things, and then I'll give a fast forward. If I zoom out, yeah, that's looking pretty interesting. Also very strange, I might say. So I'm going to pause here, and in the next video I'll show you what it looks like when we add a few elements using the same method.